Welcome to the City Park Golf Podcast, where two average golfers talk about golf and things. I'm your host, Eric.
It feels weird doing like a normal one. So I feel like it's been like a hot minute since we've had like just a normal podcast. Dominic.
We are currently on episode 139, and we have a very special guest today. We have Patrick Hardy. He's a digital creator that loves golf and coffee. If you're not following him on Instagram, make sure to hit that follow button. His handle is at Patrick Hardy. That's PatrickHardy. Patrick, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's one of those days.
It feels like a
Yep.
Monday, to be honest with you. Lost my
It's because we took I shouldn't say I took like a week and a half off. So everything just feels like it sucks.
It's all bunched up. Yeah. Let's get right into it. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into the both golf and coffee itself?
Yeah, so I started playing golf when I was like 13 or 14 years old. I tell a lot of people that ask me the same question. I pretty much picked it up in my backyard. We had a massive yard, like an apartment building, so big open space. And I just, had my grandpa's old clubs, and I would just go out there and just hit into a basket or a box at the time first, and then I got a basket, and basically just did that all the time because there was really nothing to do in Ohio. That's where I'm from, Cincinnati, Ohio. And then kind of just played, here and there once in a while. And then in high school, I had a choice between some sports that I wasn't really good at. Like I wasn't tall enough. I didn't actually get tall until I was a senior in high school. So I ended up picking up golf, played my junior and senior year, and then also tennis. But basically, I think the story goes for a lot of people. It's like, it gets expensive. I wasn't the greatest player, so I didn't play in college. And so I didn't really play too much, until about 7 years ago. Where I told my wife, I was like, I need to do something. Like I need to just get out. And this is before pandemic or, anything that got people onto the golf course. This was just me saying, I need some time for myself. It's cool now to like see the meditation and all that stuff and how everybody uses golf as a meditation, which was a huge thing for me because I just needed a place to get away. I had 3 kids at the time, now 4. And so I needed to like just escape. I worked from home. I'm a freelancer. And so I just needed a moment to go and just get on the course. And so for me, it was early mornings or late afternoons by myself, literally just out there meditation, praying, with God and just saying, okay, God, I'm here having a good time, but like, what are we doing? So that's kind of how golf became a bigger part of my life. And then as far as coffee goes, um, kind of the short story is I used to work at Starbucks, like back when it was good, like 99, 2000, before they did the automatic machines and all that stuff. I was, doing the espresso thing. And a lot of people kind of got carpal tunnel syndrome because of the thing, the portafilters.
Yep.
But now they're all automatic and they're terrible. But anyway, back then we had this thing called the coffee passport, and we had to taste all the coffees from different regions. So knowing the flavors and the profiles and where they came from, to be able to just talk about it, which it's kind of funny thinking about it now because a lot of people didn't really care too much about it other than just like, oh, does it taste good? So anyway, but we had to go through this coffee passport, and through that whole thing, I started to realize like there were different flavors, different, tastes and different regions and things like that. And so I kind of got to that point where it wasn't just drinking, the sweet drinks anymore. It was more like the black coffees, the espressos and the cappuccinos, and to really taste the difference between the two, between the different styles of coffee. But I didn't really get into specialty coffee because it didn't really exist back then. And so I went to Australia. Australia was 2010 and 11 was when I went there, 2011. And that time I was really introduced to coffee. So if you've ever been outside of the country, especially Australia, UK, those areas where like coffee is like their life, I was introduced into like, here's how you really drink coffee. And so funny thing is like, that was the first time I really had a good cappuccino. And since then, I haven't changed my drink order. So that's pretty much all I have is usually a cappuccino. But when I got back to the States, this is again 2011, end of 2011 into 2012, everybody started the specialty coffee. So that became like the standard with specialty coffee. So it's kind of cool because like I got to see it right before it entered into the United States. And because of that, I had that high caliber of drink in my mind that I couldn't go back to a Starbucks. I couldn't go back to a cafe. It was like I had to find the best coffee that I could find. And so a lot of times it was making it at home because it was just easier and also less expensive, but the quality wasn't there yet. Now fast forward to now where it's, 2024.
Damn, I was good coffee.
Technical difficulty. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's like I gotta click it every once in a while. I gotta forget. I gotta not forget. Anyways, fast forward to 2024. There's specialty coffee everywhere, and it's exciting because a lot of my friends are in the coffee business, and I've been a part of helping them promote their coffee shops and things like that. But I've worked in coffee at an actual coffee shop doing their social media and things like that. I've also just had coffee on my social media, and so because of that whole thing and where I was at with all of that, I was just open to the idea of like, hey, let me help you out. Or I was at a coffee shop and I wanted to share with other people, like, hey, here's some good coffee. So basically folding all that into one, because of the following, I guess, I built on Instagram, I was able to reach out to these golf companies and say, hey, I've been promoting these things on my social media, whether it's a coffee shop or, things that I get at home. I'd love to help you guys out. Let me know if there's anything you need to do or you want me to do. And so a lot of these brands were like, yeah, hey, I'll send you, a glove or a hat or whatever, a shirt, things like that. And because of that, I was able to just continue to promote people and help people. And I always tell people, it's like, it wasn't about, of course it's about getting free stuff, but it was always about helping other brands. And I would always say to them like, hey, I don't have money and I would love to, buy everything you have because it's awesome. But I have a camera and I have some time and some skills and I would love to help you out any way I can. So that's always been my thing is like, I'd love to buy everything that's out there, but like, I don't have the money. I live in Orange County. I have 4 kids. And so, like I said, it's barely surviving out here, but the more that I could do to help other people and the way that I position myself is like, if I can't help, then I'm not going to, reach out. So that's kind of the whole how golf and coffee kind of came to go together.
I love it. That's exactly like what we're trying to do, and I think we're doing it to some extent. This whole thing, right? We've kind of created this platform to give away, right? We talked with Roger Steele about this last week. Like because I have a hard time saying like, yes, this is our platform, and he goes, well, whose platform is it then? And then part of me is like, it is ours, but we've also kind of designed this to give platform away for a week, right? So I love it. That's what we're trying to do. I'm an avid photographer. I shoot just about everything under the sun, right? I've shot Porsches, I've shot Corvettes, people, products, like you name it. I have some idea of how to do it. And I think that's why I've been so drawn to your page and like your style and stuff like that. I've been a big fan. Um, and then to have you reach out and be like, hey, I love what you're doing. I was like, bro, like we're doing something right here. So I love that. And I can't wait to kind of pick your brain over this next hour to figure out how not only we can improve and help companies, but how people listening might also get into the space.
Yeah, because like Safe Farm, when I originally started it, it's kind of the same thing. I was, it grew pretty, rapidly. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. All of a sudden, like companies are reaching out. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Being able to get free gear, right? But then at the same time, you think about it, it's like, well, it's not really free. It's free, but it's not, right? And then
You work for it, but you're not paying physical currency for
yeah,
it.
I mean, there's obviously certain things that you do buy, but like you said, things are expensive. But then realizing like a lot of the companies that are sending you apparel or hats, whatever it might be, they're still kind of in the up and coming. So it's like really cool to be able to kind of help pave the way and get them going. So I agree with you there. It's a really cool and rewarding feeling too. So that's kind of what the Save Par page. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of meme stuff, a lot of videos. I'm trying to do more own my the own like my own content, posting more of that kind of stuff versus like just posting other people's content. So that's one thing that I really like to try to do. But
Okay, you should be like me.
What's that?
Do the podcast. It's all my stuff.
Yeah, well, it's nice because again, it's like it's your stuff that you're posting. So when you see, when it really hits off, it's a good feeling, right? But
Hmm.
being able to help other companies kind of take off is a great feeling. So we like Dom said, we love what you're doing. Can you like maybe share how you started your journey as a digital creator? Like I know you talked about the coffee and all that, but did you have any experience with it before? You talking about the camera? Did you do anything prior to these coffee and golf videos?
Yeah, so in high school, I mean, I always have been drawing and sketching and all that stuff. And I mean, this is gonna date myself, but 1995 is when Photoshop's, first came out, and I was in high school. And my teacher, noticed that I wasn't the best at what I was doing in art, and I was the fastest. I just got stuff done. I just focused and got things done. So I had a lot of time, and she was like, "Hey, why don't you learn this program, Photoshop?" So I did, and then I taught to the class at the end of the semester for us to do our final project. And really, like that kind of opened my whole mind to like digital creation, right? So we were taking photos, we are doing the black and white stuff, just like everybody else, film development, all that. But the thing that really got me was I could take that photo and like digitize it and make it do something that you couldn't normally do with a photo. And this was like I said, early days. So I'm like, um, just putting a filter on there and it's like, whoa, this is awesome, just stuff like that. And what really like took it to the next level for me was you ever seen those black and white photos with like the blue flower or something like that?
Yep.
So I learned how to mask. I learned what that was, and that changed everything because there was brushes at the time that were coming out like grunge type stuff, and I was able to take a photo and just like completely change it and make it look like it wasn't the same, like it was a piece of art. And so that to me like helped me to get to a place where I could do something where a lot of people looked at me and were like, "Hey, can you do that for me?" kind of thing. MySpace was coming out, a few years later. A lot of people asked me to work on their MySpace pages, so they would give me photos. I would digitize those and make it look cool. I actually started coding and learning how to like put things in certain places on MySpace. And this, you probably guys have no idea what MySpace is or whatever, but
I've heard of it, but I never actually
So
got into MySpace.
so like not to like date you too much. I wasn't born in 95.
I was 6.
I was not a thought.
That's awesome.
Um, and if it makes it feel better, I have the entire Adobe suite with all like the pictures and everything. Photoshop scares me. Like I've played with it. I can start things
Nice.
black and white and kind of like briefly kind of get around it, but oh my God, do I get like flustered.
Yeah, took a
That's
few
funny.
classes of Adobe
But
Photoshop in college, and
so it's kind of like Squarespace, like MySpace, but it was like the early days of like you could change certain things, like the banner at the top, you could change that, but you had to code it. You could change the color of things, but you had to code that. So it was like you could put a skin basically on your MySpace page, and so people would actually pay me to do that because I learned how to do it and it was fun.
that's cool.
And because of
What's
that,
the
I ended
guy?
up getting a job.
Isn't it
Go ahead.
Yeah, is it? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you because I want to hear
Tom.
that story. But who is the guy on the MySpace? The famous like picture of him like kind of
Yeah,
turning.
MySpace Tom.
It was okay. MySpace. You were close. Yeah.
See the fact that I know
Yeah,
that
everybody was
I knew
friends with
I
him.
and like I wasn't even
yeah. Like I said, I didn't hop into MySpace. I saw people use it that I knew, but I never really tapped into that area. But sorry, continue. I
Yeah.
didn't mean to interrupt you. It
No,
was on
yeah,
my
that's just
brain. I couldn't get it off.
it was kind of my right, right. It was my playground to kind of learn how to do things that weren't gonna, destroy things. And, I took classes like in college, but I dropped out because I didn't want to learn how to actually code and that kind of stuff. So I learned enough and I had books and stuff, so I was able to, make it work. But anyways, because of that, I was able to get a job doing that kind of stuff with my church. And so the church, basically what happened was anything they needed, I would just figure out how to do it. So we need a business card. I'd figure out how to make a business card. We needed a flyer, so I'd create a flyer, like a website. I create a website. So it was like I was never taught how to do any of this stuff. I just kind of learned it and picked it up as I went. And I asked questions to anybody that was around. Hey, how do you do this thing? And I'd see somebody do something, and I'm like, whoa, how do they do that? And so I'd like almost tear it apart and put it back together just to kind of figure out how it works. So that's basically the gist of how I got into what I'm doing. And then I've kind of just continued to do the same thing. So I've never taken many classes. I've never really sat down with a mentor or anything like that, which I would recommend to anybody that's looking to do that, to find those people. But I didn't have that. So I just kind of figured it out and made it my own. And that's kind of where I've gotten to where I'm at now.
It's funny that you're talking about film photographies and like mentors, because it's
Mm,
like I've been shooting film for got a handful of years now, probably 4 or 5, and I
mm.
learned how to develop all of them. I took a whole class on black and white photography, and I don't know how familiar you are with like our podcast, but we had Daniel Alvarez on, and he
Oh, yeah.
strictly shoots black and white. If he's shooting for like a project, he has his Leica M6 on him at all times.
Mm.
He let me play with it, and I almost broke it because I was like drunk the entire day, but that's on him. Um, I now own a 2F and a M2 from Leica.
Wow.
Dude, that M2, it's my baby, my new baby. Um,
Yeah. Everybody talks
but
about the
I
M3,
credit a
but
lot of my,
the M2 is pretty nice.
I love it, and I have the 40 millimeter Voigtlander 1.4 on it.
Mm.
It's a pretty setup. It was stupid expensive because I had to get CLA'd and fixed. Anyways, I credit him with a lot of my growth as not just like a film photographer, but like
Mm.
digital one too, right? And I think that's where like having a mentor or someone to, like bounce ideas off of in any kind of
Yeah.
creative space is super important. Whether it's me bouncing ideas off of Derek and him being like, no, that's dumb, don't do that. To even like early, we had a phone call and he's like, that's pretty sweet. We should do that. And I'm like, that's why I don't make choices by myself. But it's never hurts to ask for help. And I feel like with
Yeah.
social media, people are afraid to. And it's like now it's
Mm.
so much easier to ask for help than ever before. Like the early
Yeah.
days of the pod, I was always asking on the screws, OTS. I'm like, hey, how did you guys do that? And they're always like, oh, for sure, it's just this, this, and this. And I was like, oh, like that helps so much. And for some reason, people are so afraid to ask for help in today's world with it being literally at our fingertips.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say that difference between me and 98, just kind of like fumble around on the internet, to where we're at today. Like on your phone, you could text somebody that's not, halfway around the world and ask them a question. I mean, it's technology is insane. And the question is like, how do we use it, right? A lot of people will choose to accept, well, not accept, but like keep everybody away. I'm not going to share my secrets, whatever. But we've noticed, and I've noticed, that a lot of people that do share their secrets actually end up gaining more trust with people, and they also gain more um, followers and influence from that too. So the people that are gatekeeping these days, it's like, you're never going to get too far in life gatekeeping anything. So especially
Well said.
in the golf world too. If you're a lot of guys that are, well, I shouldn't say this, but basically, a lot of people that are sharing advice aren't really fully capable of sharing that advice, or shouldn't be sharing that advice, but they're willing to do it because of that. Again, they're offering, or they're gaining influence and followers and things like that. So, but I work with a guy who instructs people for on the PGA Tour. So it's kind of funny because that guy should be sharing advice, but everybody else shouldn't be.
Hmm.
Shouldn't be unless they've actually like lived the life of it. But it works. I mean, we're all
Yeah.
amateur golfers, right? We're not like professionals, so
Well, and
anything we
I
can learn
feel
is good.
like people have been like asking me, like, hey, you started this podcast, you have all the
Mm,
equipment. What would you do differently? And I'm like, I don't think I'm like the one to ask about this.
mm,
But in some sense, I'm like, that's so cool that I'm the one being asked about this, right? Like Ralph from Los Golferos, he's like, hey man, like we're doing this thing. It's basically empowering Latinos and Mexican
mm,
culture, and theirs is so far, it's so different than ours because they've had literally like math teachers on, just showing that it's
mm,
cool to, do stuff outside, be smart. Um, but he was like, hey man, like what would you do differently? How do I start? What do you use? And I'm like, I can tell you what I wish I would have done, but beyond that, I
mm.
don't know. And
Yeah.
at that moment, I was like, am I qualified to answer these questions? But then the other part of it is like, worst case scenario, I'm wrong and he learns from it and I learn from it. But it's kind of scary that everybody's just like, oh yeah, you can just do this. And I'm like, I feel like that's wrong.
Yeah.
Like
I
me
mean,
instructing golf, not a good idea.
we so I was a pastor for a few years, and I guess technically I'm still a lay pastor, but what we always tell people who feel like they're unqualified is like, you know more than the person in front and behind you, right? So it doesn't matter, you know, how many years you've been doing it or whatever. If you just stepped into it, somebody else steps into it a week later, you're further along than they are. So anything we can offer is better than nothing. So it's not too far off to think that like people are going to ask you advice for something that you've been doing for a little while. And even if you don't fully understand or know how to do it, you know more than they do. So let that be an encouragement to you. But yeah, just anybody out there is like, you know, if you're going to offer advice, like just do it from your perspective. Don't try and be the expert in it, but like just to, hey, like just say, this is what I've learned, this is what I've done, you know, kind of have to figure it out on your own.
For sure.
I
So
mean, you
how,
talk
how
about
did,
the education system, right? The where we're at right now. Like my kids are in high school, and elementary school, and it's like the the state of where everything is right now, it's like they're learning more on their own than they are with their teachers. So that's kind of how it has to be, right? So if you don't take that knowledge and do something with it, you're just kind of like getting more and more complacent, I guess you could say. Same thing with, you know, like I said, with golf or any of these things we do. It's like we could sit and watch YouTube videos for hours. We could mess around on Instagram and look around and TikTok and see all these people doing amazing things. But if we're not going out there and actually doing it ourselves, like I'm not the best golfer, but when I get on the course, like my short game is the best part of my game because when I was 14, that's all I did was sit outside and hit chip balls all day long. And I learned technique and I continue that today. So
that's awesome. That's great. How did you get into reviewing golf products? Because I know you have. I definitely want to ask some other questions about the companies and products you've reviewed because there's a lot of cool companies out there that I haven't even heard of before. So looking at your
mm.
page. So how did that come about?
So basically, I mean, just like anybody, I probably saw somebody on Instagram or YouTube doing it, and I was like, "Oh, I can do that," you know. And so I, the way that I look at it is like, again, I have more knowledge than somebody else that has never even touched a product, or maybe has a different perspective than somebody else. So I never look at it as like, man, I am the expert in this. It's more just like, here's my first initial thoughts. Even with coffee, it's like people ask me like, "What's your favorite coffee?" And I'm like, "Well, it's different for everybody because." Honestly, I'm not like a coffee connoisseur. I'm just a guy who likes coffee and I can tell you what I like and what I don't like. And so it's the same thing with products. It's like, you know, a hat that I get in the mail or a t-shirt or something, I could just tell you what I think and it's opinionative. It's not like the end all if you should get it or not. It's just more like, here's my first impressions. And my kind of short review. Sometimes I'll go, you know, take it to the driving range of the course and talk about it. But most of the time, it's especially since most of the stuff I do is apparel, because most of the companies I think it's just cheaper for them or easier for them to ship a hat or a glove than like a golf club. So, but as far as like how I got into it, I just started asking. I just started reaching out to people. Whether I saw somebody else doing it in that specific company or I just saw that they were just popping up something. And a lot of times, like it's just I see something cool and I'm like, I want that, or I want to help out. You know, get that person on the radar for a lot of people. And some of these cool small companies I've never heard of before. Like I see something and I'm like, that's cool. I think other people should know about that. And you know, they have a couple thousand followers, but they need more eyes onto their page and things like that. So I just ask. I mean, the worst that could happen is they say no. And I'm always upfront and saying, hey, look, I have photography skills, I have video skills, I can unbox and review something. You know, I'm here to help. So yeah. And I think just that understanding of like, I'm not looking to I was for a while, I was getting some money and I was getting, you know, here and there, but I was like, it just didn't feel like authentic in the way. Like even though the review was authentic, it just didn't feel like it was worth their money for me to just to give my opinion. I mean, again, a lot of people do that and they make a lot of money with it. I just didn't feel like that was what I wanted at the time.
Sure.
So I basically started turning the corner and saying, look, I'm just here, you know, I'll do it for free for a product or whatever. And you know, just let me know what you need. So
That's really
That's where
cool.
everything kind of changed, I think.
You
A
saying
lot
that
of
kind of
companies are saying,
reminded
"Oh,
me
for
of
free."
yeah. You saying that kind of reminded me of something. So we just did the 3M Open. We get media credentials the last couple of years. We go do
Hmm,
whatever. We play the media day. And
nice.
we always get like a workstation because I always ask for one, but I've never actually seen where our workstation is. They put us up like right front row,
Yeah.
like in front of the news outlets, in front of like the sports, news radio, stuff like that. And we had our videographer with us. His name's Ty. Um,
Nice.
I was like, "Well, we should be behind the news and the
Mm,
stuff like that." And he goes, "No, what you're doing is so much bigger than talk about on the news, right? Like
wow.
social media is huge.
Mm,
And I guess I kind of forget that, like you're saying, like, "Oh, I shouldn't be paid for my opinion." Well, in some ways, your opinion means more than somebody else's, right? Because you physically have it, it's in your hand. Granted,
yeah.
have we ever been paid for stuff like that? No. And I hope we never do, because then I do feel like that does take the authenticity out of it a little bit. Um, but you saying that kind of triggered that memory. I was like, you know what?
Mm,
That's true. I still feel weird that we were in front of like the local news and K-fan stuff like that. But
mm,
I think that's where us being on social media is almost a leg up, right?
yeah.
Versus you because if you go on YouTube, you're not just gonna scroll and find things. Where on Instagram, you're like, oh, it's recommended and it's your page. And it's all of a sudden there's 1,000 posts of you talking about brands. Well, that's gonna
Hmm,
mean more to those companies.
yeah. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think for a while it was like a lot of people were getting into it, and it was kind of almost oversaturated. So that's why I kind of like stepped back a little bit and was like, hey, I have something different. Like what I do, and my stance on it is like, as long as it's fair, relatively easy for me to do, if it's not like involved, like I'm gonna go get people and do a photo shoot, things like that. I'm happy to, help out wherever I can. If they're major companies and they're coming to me for, advice on things like that, obviously I'm going to charge, a little bit more than like somebody that's a local, like I just started up this brand type of thing where I'm like, hey, I'm happy to help you whatever I can. So it just depends, again, on how much I can give and how much I choose to I guess offer at the time.
I would
But
love
yeah,
to
I
work
mean,
with a
there's
company and they're like,
there's so many things. Yeah.
look, be thrilled. Sorry, didn't mean to
Yeah.
interrupt.
No, no.
No, but just going back to your page, said there was several companies that I've never personally heard of, and then just scrolling through it, and again, like you have it in your hand, so that's one thing. But then actually clicking on their Instagram handle, they said it's a very powerful tool. The
Mm,
one I came across was that um hazard hunters,
mm,
like their polos. They said the price wise, I mean, they're like 80 to 100 some bucks for the polos, but super cool looking polos. But I didn't
hmm.
follow them, never heard of them, so I didn't send them a message or anything like that, but I commented on a couple of their posts. And again, there's so many companies out there that, and they have a good following. They have like almost 9,000 followers, so they're actually kind of a larger
Yeah.
apparel company. But again, kind of going back to that, like there are a lot of companies that I personally haven't heard of, and I mean, it's clearly working what you're doing, right? I see your
Yeah.
page, click on it, like, oh, this is really cool. So not only am I getting uh your impression of what it is, but I also get to you're posting content for them to click on the Instagram handle. So, with that being said, how many products do you think you've reviewed? Golf related products, if you were to
So
guess.
many.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot
To
on your page.
guess, I mean, like hundreds, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, like I could go out to my garage and point out all the stuff, and it's kind of funny because we moved to this house in 2019, right before pandemic hit, and basically that's when kind of things took off. And I have a section in my garage where it's just like filled with golf stuff, and I could tell you probably I'd say maybe 80 to 85% of it is all gifted. Like I didn't pay for any of it. So besides my golf gloves, which I got a deal on from a friend, I mean, there's really handful of things that I purchased on my own. Most of it has been given to me. My closet is filled with golf shirts. I mean, this shirt here, Back
Yeah.
Nine Bullies, like friends of mine down the street. This hat, even I got it at a Top Golf. It's on
Yeah.
the side here.
Love John.
Uh,
John's great. Pac-9 Bullies. Love
yeah,
John.
yeah, dude, John's awesome. But like my whole closet is filled with golf clothes now because of this. I mean, I haven't purchased a shirt. I've got underneath my bed, I've got other golf shirts that I mean, it's just crazy how much, and polos and things like that. So I could say, yeah, over 100, I'd say. I mean, probably not posted, but definitely gotten packages well over 100.
Do you have a few like personal favorites that you've reviewed? I'm sure you have, maybe you could choose one from like a golf glove company to a shirt. Like maybe that's something that just really like something in the details that really like piqued your interest.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Hazard Hunters, like they their quality is just really, really nice. Like their polos are like that cotton,
Mhm.
kind of just a really cool throwback almost style to it.
Yeah.
I really love that. I love the details that they put into their stuff. Um, let's see, there's so many. I love Loose So Cloud. Like their stuff is awesome. The little slides.
I've wanted to
The
try a
pet,
pair, but I've always been
so
afraid to pull
comfortable.
that trigger.
They're so comfy. Like I live in them. I mean, I joke around, but like I really wear them to the driving range sometimes. Like I'll wear them to the store. I mean, they're just so comfortable. So
I saw
probably
you
those
responded to
two
something like too.
pop up.
I'm probably like in a similar boat where it's like at work. So I work in the running industry. So like
Nice.
I work with UFOs, right? Like the slides,
Okay.
and they're like the same price. And I'm like, all I have to do is send a text and boom, they're like waiting for me in a week. So I
Yeah.
have a hard time being like, oh, I'm just gonna go spend 80, $90 on those slides, as cool as they are. And I really do
Yep.
want a pair. But my God, I live in UFOs. I feel ya.
Yeah. I mean, that's the constant struggle I have is like, I've worked with Adidas Golf just from friends like hooking me up and helping me out. And I love the comfort, the style, everything. But I still look over and I'm like, dude, Nike, like I want some of those, certain shoes. I don't need, another pair of golf shoes, but I want them.
Yeah.
And it's that thing where it's like I could spend, even on when they're on sale, it's like, oh, $80, I could do that, and I'm like, but I don't need that. It's so hard to say
Yeah.
no in a sense, but I have to continue to tell myself no. And unless somebody wants to give it to me. So
Right.
I'm open to
We don't
that.
know anybody over at Nike, so yeah.
No, so sorry about that. Where do you find your inspiration for your posts and your videos? Because each video is a little bit different. They're all very like well done. But and
Hmm.
then just to kind of piggyback off that question, how long does it usually take you to create a video?
So I'm kind of in this rut right now where like I've just been doing a lot of unboxing videos. And I've been trying to figure out a way to like bridge it to maybe like a YouTube longer form video. Um, but I still haven't gotten to that. So when I do like an unboxing video, I mean, I just basically just set the camera down, turn it on and kill. And so when I edit it, it's like, bop, doop, dop, doop, dop, bop, so
Yep.
super quick. And I want to get away from that as much as I can and do more like in-depth kind of reviews and things. And I actually did one with Hazard Hunter stuff, which I haven't posted yet because it's different. It's too different than what I've been doing. So I have to figure out, okay, how do I actually make this work? So I got to figure that out. But anyway, but my inspiration, I guess I could say, would be guys like Peter McKinnon, like his YouTube stuff, dude. I mean, I've been following that guy since like almost day one. Like I look back on his old videos, I'm like, man, I don't know why I ever started following this guy because he was just a goofball, and now he's a goofball, but he's got a lot of followers and stuff. So I really loved his style. I loved some of his photography stuff. That actually when I first started taking photos, it was that HDR like quality photos. Now I can't take those. I have to take natural photos and natural light and stuff like that. But so he was
That's
a
fine.
big inspiration.
So I'm
What's
a
that?
big fan of Peter. Uh,
Oh yeah.
all like literally like the amount of Peter McKinnon shit, and I don't mean shit
Hmm.
negatively. The amount of stuff I've purchased that has his name on it is ridiculous. I have his signature filter, the 2 to 5, and then
Mm,
I have the mist that he did with
nice.
Polar Pro. I think that one's 2 to 5 as well. I have his little camera tool. That thing is
Mm,
clutch. I think that was like a limited drop through his website. Been a big fan of Peter. I
oh
think
yeah.
I don't love his style all the time because it is very HDR is a good way to put it.
Yep.
It's very heavily edited, and I prefer it
Mm-hmm.
more natural personally.
Yep.
Um, for anybody listening who wants like get into stuff like that and you don't know where to start, Peter's great because it's so
Mm-hmm.
simplified. He does these like 5 minute Fridays and
Mm-hmm.
it's super just overhead camera. Here's what it is. He talks about
Yep.
it and then it's the next item. Big fan of Peter.
So great. And it's because of him, like a lot of other people I've met. So Jesse was another one. I forget his last name, but he was huge on Instagram because before you could save the stories, he would literally create, actually before even video or reels happened, you can create um stories that he just posted every day. So like it would be like a 15-second clip that would just live for 24 hours, but he put so much production into it, so much effort into it. And like when Peter talked about him, it was just like, dude, this guy is awesome. Like he could tell a story in 15 seconds that like a lot of people would take, years to figure this out, that kind of thing. So Jesse Driftwood, that's what his name is, Jesse Driftwood. So him, and then Casey Neistat was another huge inspiration as far as vlogging and things like that go. I just haven't committed to the vlog yet, so I haven't gotten to that far. So my life isn't that exciting. I mean, I don't live in New York. I don't have, crazy tendencies like he does. But yeah, those would be my inspirations as far as like videos and the way I do things. As far as photography goes, that's almost another no whole nother subject, but so many great photographers, especially in golf, which is kind of funny because when I was researching how to take photos like on the golf course, there weren't a lot of results. So like if somebody wants to start that channel, I would definitely jump on and check out how to do that because I feel like guys like Jeff what's his last name? Jeff Marsh would be a huge guy. He's always on PGA Tour stuff. Christian Hafer, those guys like would kill it as far as like how to not gatekeep, how to share all this information. I'm sure they just don't have the time to do it, but that's what I think would be cool to check it out. So anyway, I guess you just have to kind of look at their stuff and go, okay, how can I recreate this in my own style? Which is kind of what I do. Do a
You
lot of product photography. That's like I don't know if it's just because it's low hanging fruit. It's easy to do because you don't have to do a lot to on the back end of it. You just kind of have to set it up, take the photo, and then kind of simple edits and things like that. So I do a lot of those kind of things. As far as action and like event stuff, that's where I kind of like I love capturing creating moments, not capturing moments. So it's almost the other opposite of most people out there to shoot photos.
are you getting so you'd mentioned before, Andy, like you reach out to a lot of companies. Are you getting to the
Yeah.
point now where companies are kind of reaching out to you? They love what you're doing, and maybe do you have any cool stories about that, like funny stories or anything that's like kind of related to what you've been doing that like means something to you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess everybody, or I should say, some people get to a point where they're just like, I don't want to reach out to another company because I've got just too much stuff. I mean, I could probably once a month take a photo and just like show how many boxes I've got in my possession that I haven't done anything with, and that's kind of gets scary because it's like people are trusting me and asking me to do something, and I just get overwhelmed. I'm like, I don't even know where to start. So, for instance, yesterday I shot, I think it was like 8 videos just unboxing stuff, and then I went out and shot some stuff in my neighborhood, just like product photos. So it's like I have to just choose to like sit down and just block out the time and do it. And something that a lot of people don't know is like my 14-year-old daughter shoots most of my photos and most of my videos. So there's something there.
Yeah.
It's exciting
Yeah.
because she's such a creative person. She draws and sketches and just like me. And now I'm teaching her some skills that she'll live on past this
Sure.
year, or the next. So but it's cool because I can direct her and stuff, but most of the time it's just like, hey, make it work, or what do you want me to do? Because I'm trying to lean on her to help me to produce something creatively, which is cool.
Sure. Come up with some
But
new ideas and create some new content.
yeah, exactly. So it's like I have to really say no to a lot of things that are coming. I mean, I don't physically like say no, but I don't go out and reach for more. So unless companies come to me and they're like, "Hey, I want to send you a product that I know that I'm not going to use and or have other connections or creation, or I'm sorry, other whatever it's called. Uh, I'm working with somebody else in that same space, whether it's
Yep.
balls
Like
or
a
gloves or
creator.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they reach out to me, hey, can I send you this? And I'm like, actually, I'm working with another company, but I appreciate the offer. But most of the people will send me stuff. I'm sorry, most of the people reach out to me nowadays. So it's like, unless I really, really want something, and I think I could do something really cool with it, that's the key. Is like, if I could do something with it, then I'd be happy to reach out. But other than that, I just sit back, and a lot of people now will reach out to me. So it's kind of cool. And actually, because of the past companies I worked with, some stuff just shows up at my door, and I'm like, where did that come from?
Yeah. How
Which is
does your
kind of
wife?
cool.
How's your wife? Because like for me too, like I was in the same boat. Like I will say like I was like it was almost addicting in a sense for me. Like where like I'm not. That's one thing that I don't really do a whole lot of anymore. Which I not that I don't like it, but it is a little overwhelming. But because like certain things like you ex they might expect something more, or there might be some different
Mm,
expectations. Um, but yeah, there was. I mean, I still get stuff that shows up, but back in the day, it was like almost every day there was something coming in the mail, and you ends up getting donated or give it away if you don't, maybe the sizing's off a little bit, something cool but doesn't fit or whatever it might be. So there's a lot of like it gets put to use, but how's your wife react to that when she's like, you just got literally boxes and boxes just showing up to the doorstep, and most of them are probably for you.
oh yeah. I mean, she understands that's what I do, but I'm sure
Yeah.
inside she's like, I don't know, you don't need another T-shirt.
Right.
And like I said, I can't go to the store and I can't buy things like normal people because I just have like closets filled with stuff, which is unbelievable and exciting, to be able to be in that position. But at the same time, like I go to a certain store and I'm just like, man, I really need that or I want that. And she's like, no, you don't. You don't need that.
You want it, you don't need it, right?
Yeah.
That's sometimes it's hard to really put that in motion though. You're like, I know it's not a need, it's a want, but
Well, it's
Yeah.
funny because like we just had our shindig, and shindigs are what we call like our tournaments and events.
Nice.
And I live at home still because it's so expensive to like live alone. Plus, I'd get lonely. I need to bug my parents every
Mm.
day so that they like remember me. Um, so everything shindig related came to me. And
Mm.
the amount of packages I got in, my dad's like, "Hey, you got another one." We were sent two full-size golf bags from a company
Wow.
we work with and are affiliated with and stuff like that. And they just sat outside and they looked like just like big boxes. And my dad's like, "Are those for you?" I'm like, "Well, they're not for you, that's for sure." So I ended up taking up like their whole basement. And I'm
Oh
like, oh,
man.
I feel so bad. But they're like, you're gonna give it all away, it's fine. But the amount of stuff, like we don't get sent a whole lot, thankfully. But like Precision Pro recently sent us each like a rangefinder and a speaker. So I
Nice.
did some photography and I tried to do an unboxing. I hate how it turned out, but it's one of those things where it's like I threw the boxes away already. So like rookie mistake, I guess. Um, yeah, you nod your head. I know, I
Oh
fucked
yeah.
up. But that's fine. Um, so stuff like that is always kind of fun. Be like, yeah, I got another golf bag, and but I swear,
Hmm.
if I bring another golf bag home, I think I'm getting kicked out.
Yeah. Speaking of golf bags, I probably have about a dozen of them.
I
Just
have,
different shapes, sizes. I
yeah,
mean, it's
different
insane. Like
brands.
when brands reach out to me, I'm like, at this point, actually, I got reached out to 2 months ago, and I was like, honestly, I don't need another golf bag, but if you want to send one, like my kids need them. So like, here are their ages, here's their preferences. And they never responded, but I'm like, I'm not gonna,
That's a cool thing about that too. Like my wife's
yeah,
trying to kind of get into golf a little bit too, and it's like, well, now it's kind of fun for me where it's like now there is a lot of more up and coming brands that are more female based. It's like
Hmm.
Granted, I haven't really pursued it a whole lot, but now I have like another goal. It's like, oh, now I can get my wife
Well, and
decked out.
there's options, right? Like
Yeah,
That's cool.
it's
Yeah.
the
interesting.
Bay company, it's OmniX. Like we've been working with them, we're
Mhm.
affiliated with them. It's super cool. Just get her like one of the really dope iridescent bags. But it's like the same thing where it's like there's so many companies out there that are so cool that nobody knows about. And
Yeah.
as soon as one
Oh
person
yeah.
talks about it, it's like
Yeah,
all of a sudden they're everywhere and bing bang boom, here we are. And
because a lot of the products are good quality products. It's just again getting their name out there, which is like
Yeah.
that's kind of the cool thing about using our platform or using your platform. It's like, well, you've already created the product, and it's a good product. So now it's just
Hmm.
on us to kind of let people know about it. So it's I've ran into that too, where you do some sponsored posts. I used to do a lot of sponsored posts. It wasn't for apparel companies, but some of them you're just like, nah, this isn't something that I think is going to benefit you, and it's not going to really benefit
Yeah.
me. So you kind of have to just, so there's a lot of, you
well,
know,
and we've said no to people where it's like it's just like not a good fit. And I'm assuming you're the same way where it's like, I don't really like it. I'm not going to talk about it. Like this company's like, hey, we really want you to use, our grips. And I'm like, that sounds great.
Mm.
Can you send me a couple? And they said no. And I was like, well, then I can't talk about something that I don't physically have or like, give our stamp of
Yeah.
approval to or whatever. And I didn't ask for a full set. I'm like, hey, just send me two for like a couple wedges. I could screw around, whatever. And like, yeah, we just can't do that. And I said, well, then we're really not interested.
yeah,
I didn't say it like that bluntly, but I was like, if we can't physically hold it, talk about it, show people, then to me it's very
Yeah.
inauthentic.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I'm not, especially at this point right now, I'm not being paid or sponsored by any brand or any company. So a lot of the times, like it's just a lot of free stuff that's been sent to me for that specific purpose. Hey, we check out our stuff. You let us know, how you feel. There's a guy I'm working with right now. He's developing some golf gloves. He wants to just pick my brain on kind of like how I feel about it, how I like not financially, but physically how it looks, how it feels, and then also how they can potentially brand it and market it. So I do a lot of that. I do a lot of branding and marketing myself and strategy and stuff like that too. So I have to be careful with like how much I can offer without like charging them to do so. But
yeah,
as long as it's fun, and again for me and it's exciting, it's that's what I'm here for. I want to help um I mean, to put it bluntly, like I can point out things that other people won't point out, right? So I have to be careful like how much I say. Um it's not negative, but just like more like how I physically or how things actually are versus like how I want to present them. Because there's some things you don't want to say over, online, but I not talk to the person about it, right? So I'll say something, I'll omit those things, but then I'll tell the person like behind the scenes, hey, so by the way, this is what happened when you wear it a couple times, things like that, because they could be in the development phase, and I don't want to like blow up their whole
yeah,
brand just because I had a bad experience. So it's cool because like they feel like again they trust me to understand that hey I can promote something to the extent of like I can actually use it and I like it, but then I also share my own personal experience with it so that they can learn for it and grow from it.
sure. Are
But I
there
always
any
tell people
upcoming?
like when I worked at
Oh,
Starbucks, actually anytime you go to a coffee shop, like you get a crappy cup of coffee, like tell somebody because
yeah,
they're not going to learn anything if you just walk away and go, well, I guess it's just a one-off.
I've had that before a few times. Normally, it's always pretty spot on if I do get it, but sometimes it's you get it and you don't try right away. You get in the car and you already take off, and then it's like,
Hmm.
I want to make that phone call, but at the same time, it's like it's not really worth it at that point. But yeah, if you try it and you're sitting down, it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
coffee's not cheap. You're well aware how
Oh,
expensive
heck
coffee is to
yeah.
buy it. It's like you best be getting a new coffee
Oh,
for
you're
sure.
allowed to do
Right?
that?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Oh
if
yeah.
it's 'cause if you're
Oh,
pretty regular, like if you know what it should taste like, and you get it, and you're like, this is not how it should be, then yeah, absolutely, they'll replace
I
it.
wonder if that's my generation where I'm like, I'm just not gonna.
Yeah, I
There's
mean, it could
there's a
be
lot of that. Yeah.
yeah, like non-confrontational, like nah, that's fine.
Hmm.
I mean,
See,
I'm there
like
sometimes
the
too,
issue
but
is like I love conflict. Like I'm the first person to start like drumming shit up, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to do it at their place of work.
yeah,
Like, you know what I mean?
for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
as long as you're curious and are courteous and understanding, like most of the time, I mean, especially a specialty coffee, because you're paying like $5 a cup. If it's a crappy, drink, then I'm not gonna pay for it. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna come back, I should say. That would be the
it's
worst. Is like nobody
well,
came back because you served bad coffee.
right. Well, and like Starbucks is here is anywhere
No.
from $6 to $7, but like you get some of the specialized coffees that I like at different coffee shops. I mean they can be 7, $8,
Oh yeah.
which I mean if it's good, that's fine. Usually I like to make my own, but there are some really nice ones. You go there and treat yourself a little bit,
Yeah.
but yeah, you
Yeah. I always
definitely
tell
can.
people like if you're going to a coffee shop for the first time, either order a cappuccino or a black coffee or pour over. And you could tell how good the coffee shop is and kind of baseline what they can offer. Because if the cappuccino is like uh off, you could tell because the texture of the milk. I don't know if you guys drink cappuccinos, but when you pour the milk, the reason that this is what I've been told and understand is the reason that there's latte art is because the texture of the milk is good contrast. And
Mhm.
because of that, it's able to the flavor of the coffee and the way it tastes, the texture is very smooth and creamy. And that's what a cappuccino should be. So if it's like Starbucks does when they just put the stuff on top, the foam on top, it's like that's not a cappuccino.
Right.
That's just a
Yeah.
coffee with, or actually a milk coffee with cream or
Basically,
foam on top.
This is all over my head. I don't drink coffee. Just give me like a Red Bull. You know, I've had one earlier. I also have really bad ADD,
Nice.
so caffeine does nothing for me. So I have a hard time spending $6, $7 on a cup of coffee where it's like I'm just gonna go to bed after.
you could get decaf.
That's funny.
Then what?
Well,
Just give me a Red Bull.
well, that's not that. But
I
it's kind
get
of going
I
back
get
to like
two Red Bulls for the price of your cup of coffee.
but like you like the flavor of a Red Bull. I'm saying like I like the
Damn right
flavor
I
of
do.
coffee. So it's like, yeah, you can still get a D. I don't typically ever get a decaf coffee, but
Yeah.
if I was, I think I'd rather have a decaf coffee than two Red Bulls.
I would rather
Don't
two
get me
Red
wrong,
Yeah.
Red Bulls are. I used to drink a lot of those. But I don't drink those
The one I
anymore.
had today was there's apricot.
Okay. Do you have any? Because so I have like I have a Bravo espresso machine that I've been trying to like fine tune, and I've noticed like
Mm,
each origin of bean is different grind. There's different uh tendencies of the grind. What would you say? Like some are not harder, but some are a little bit more coarse than others, right? So you got to kind of find
yeah.
that, and then
Hmm.
it is like an art though. It's kind of wild
Yeah.
of how each bean can just be so different from each brand or manufacturer. But that's been my most difficult part is doing the pours, uh, frothing the
Yeah.
milk. It's been.
Yeah. I
I've also
mean,
known like certain milks too are a little bit easier than
mhm.
others.
Yeah. I mean,
But
the more creamy the milk, you're gonna get better texture no matter what. But I mean, the higher quality. I mean, it's like a nerd like scale where I know
it
guys that
is.
like again they're in the coffee industry that could tell you, the temperature, the humidity, like the bean, like how you roast it, whatever, all that stuff matters. And I'm just like, I just want to make it good
Yeah.
and taste good. In fact, again, back to my 14-year-old daughter, I taught her when she was like 12 to make coffee for me. I have a Breville Barista Express, and I
Yep.
basically just taught her, hey, just make me an iced latte like in the morning, and I just show up and it's just there sometimes. Or I'll just ask her, hey, you want to make coffee? And she's like, sure. So it's like being able to I understand the complexity of the coffee that I like, but I also understand like the convenience of just making an iced coffee. So
It's funny. My good buddy, he's also like a big nerd when it comes to coffee, way bigger than I am when it comes to and he's very good at all the different pours and all that, and with the art. But I forget his machine, but it's the same thing. It's like it's almost kind of like cheating in a sense because it's like,
yeah,
with the Breville, like same thing for me. It's like dialing and the steamer, like with the milk, like certain days like I can be spot on and some days I'm not. But like with him, it's like he can just and it's like it's
oh
already
yeah.
like already done for. I'm like, I mean, paid a lot
Yeah,
of
it's a
money for
pressure
it, but
thing.
yeah, it's pretty
Exactly. Yeah.
cool.
The Breffel doesn't have enough pressure to really get a good, but you can. It's just
Can
finicky and
it's
annoying.
exactly it's just a little more inconsistent. You really have to get it dialed in to be to be
Yeah.
able to spot on. But no, that's awesome. I just try to it's uh coffee beans. It's from Drive Coffee. I don't know if you've ever heard of it,
Mhm.
but it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It looks like a little like
Oh, I
oil
have heard
can.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Hmm.
looks like a little oil can. I actually was gifted one for my birthday, from the same guy that
Nice.
we're talking about. And it's crazy though, like just you start to find a certain bean that you like and you can tell the difference big time of
Oh
the
yeah.
taste, the quality, than
Yeah.
just going
One of my
to
favorites recently has been Onyx Coffee in Arkansas.
Onyx Coffee.
Yeah, Onyx is like packaging is beautiful. The beans are always really good.
Take a look here and see.
They're Rogers, Arkansas.
Okay, I feel like I've heard of them. Do you do any like subscription stuff like with coffee where like they send you like new beans every month or every couple weeks?
Yeah, I guess I technically am working with a brand called Bottomless Coffee, which actually is a really cool idea, but basically you get the scale. So when you first subscribe, you get the scale and you pay, I think it's like $6 a month. And then when the scale says it's basically low, it'll automatically ship you the coffee that's um in your queue. So you can
Sure.
you can queue coffees in there, or you can just say I like medium roast and it'll just send you whatever is available. But it's really cool because like you don't have to think about it. You could change to like make it more very like super fresh, or like doesn't matter if the coffee's a little bit late, but you want to have it right when you need it. So it's kind
Interesting.
of cool.
What was that called? That company?
Bottomless.com.
Bottomless Talk. I'm looking
Bottomless
up.
coffee. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out. That's awesome. Yeah, I kind of nerd out with the coffee because like when I've seen your videos, I see some of the pour. I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome. I love it. But
Well,
I
it's funny. Like I was like, "Hey, we're having Patrick Hardy on this day," and Derek goes, "Oh, the coffee guy." I'm like, "Yeah."
That's
yeah, no,
funny.
that's awesome. Do you have
Yeah,
any?
I
Oh,
was
go
gonna
ahead.
say
Go ahead.
Cometeer was another cool one that I thought. I don't know if you saw that one, but I actually found that one through Seth Rogen or Seth Rogen, right? He's
Yep.
the funny guy,
Actor.
pothead.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He has a company called Houseplant Coffee. Actually,
Okay.
Houseplant, I think is his like marijuana company, but Houseplant Coffee. They use Cometeer, which is like these frozen capsules that like they ship like a box of them and you just put them in your freezer. And so you could either thaw them overnight and just have like iced coffee, or you could put them into a hot water and make it like it's a regular cup of coffee. And they actually they're probably one of the best like frozen slash ready-made coffees, pre-made coffees, I should say, that I've ever had. Like I've tasted the ones you put the bag in, like a tea bag.
Yep.
Those are
Like tea
great,
bag,
but
yep.
like this is much easier, and it's also tastes much better. So
Do
that
you
was
pref-
interesting.
do you prefer ice or a hot coffee?
It just depends on the day. I
As I
mean,
said, it depends
sometimes
also
like
on the weather too, right? In the
yeah,
hot, warmer season. I'm kind of a psychopath though. I prefer hot coffee regardless. I don't care if it's 90 degrees out. I don't know. I'm just a hot coffee
yeah.
guy. But
I I love sometimes just making it Chemex and just kind of like making it
mhm.
a couple of hours just sitting there drinking it,
Yep.
and where I'm working or whatever, I'll just have the Chemex and just pour it in. But most of the time it's either espresso quick, iced coffee, or a Chemex pour over.
Gotcha. Yeah, my wife prefers iced coffee, so her go-to has been the honey cinnamon like latte,
Nice.
ice cinnamon latte, and then I just typically do espresso milk, and then I'll do like I consider it's like a maple syrup
Hmm.
latte essentially. I just put a little maple
Nice.
syrup in there, and that's been really good. But I think with the hot for me, I prefer just because it's like I always continue to want to practice making pours with the iced
Hmm.
coffee. It's a little bit different, you're not
Yeah.
really doing any of that stuff. But back to the golf side of things, do you have any like
It
upcoming
got me back
projects
in
that you're excited about working on? Yeah, Don is like, yeah, I'm done with the coffee.
I'm looking at pictures of tacos.
But yeah, do you have any like upcoming projects that you're excited about working on that you might want to talk about?
That maybe we want
um
to help with.
yeah, I just posted a couple hours ago. The Bad Birdie just reached out to me. I started working with them. Actually, I got a friend who's working there doing the creative directing now. So it's like, I feel like I always liked Bad Birdie, but I just didn't like the style of Bad Birdie. Not to say anything bad about Bad Birdie, but it
Yeah.
was just too wild and crazy for me, right? So my friend's now doing the creative directing there, and I met him through Mob and stuff. So it's like he's got that style like on fleek, if you so
Yep.
to speak. But he's helping out with like their creative directions. So they just did something with Liquid Death, the
Yep.
water drink.
Drink.
And so they said, "Hey, are you interested in working with us?" And they basically said like, "We already said yes for you. We just want to make sure you're okay with it." Because as
Like,
soon as I
all right.
said yes, they're like, "All right, so something on your way." And I'm like, "What?"
That's
So
awesome.
I got a t-shirt, a hat, a polo, and then they sent a box of Liquid Death iced tea, which was actually iced tea and lemonade. So did some fun stuff with that. So I did an unboxing I just posted, and then I have some photos that I'm gonna post too, which are kind of fun.
That's really cool. I that whole Liquid Death like story behind it is really wild. It's really
Yeah.
interesting and very cool. The
Oh
fact that
yeah.
it's basically just water in a can. It
Hmm.
makes sense, right? When you think about it, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of people that maybe quit drinking or whatever. Like they want to fit into
Hmm.
they go to a concert, but they don't want to be this loser drinking a bottle of
Yeah.
Dasani water and just have that still that same feel as if like maybe they're drinking
Yeah.
a can of beer or whatever. And it's like, I forget the dollar amount of what they've generated and like the little
Hmm.
commercial that they made. I don't know if I'm sure you're probably familiar with the
Oh yeah.
backstory and how it kind of came about, but I haven't tried
Yeah.
any of their teas, but we did buy because they're exclusively at a couple different stores, one of which is
Mm.
Whole Foods and Target. So we tried, my wife and I've tried the Liquid Death water, which again, it's just
Oh
water, but
yeah.
it is kind of a unique way to drink it, really.
Yeah.
But what about
No, I think the branding is like what really gets it for a lot of people. The branding and
yeah,
the marketing. They just know how to do it. So it's just like I mean, again, I do a lot of branding marketing, so I know kind of where their head's at. I know that they're trying to reach a certain person. They're not gonna, really sell it to a 75-year-old who's looking for, a bottle of water, right? So they
that
know
guy.
exactly who they're trying to reach and they're doing it really well. But what I would say is like it's like Nike, right? Where I could sell you anything with a Nike swoosh on it because of what the brand and the culture that they've built for years and years and years. So I think that's what's happening with Liquid Death is like they're just reaching the audience that they want to reach in the way that they want to reach them, and they could basically sell you anything at this point. So it is exciting. I mean, it is a cup of water or a can of water, but that can of water like says something about you when you get it, right? So you're not walking around with a plastic bottle or even like a
Yeah,
flask, right? You're looking at the can as like this is who I am. This is basically my recognition of who I am. So like you said, maybe it's an alcoholic that, can't drink anymore, or wants, to be a part of a thing, or just people that just enjoy that kind of culture and want to see that kind of thing on in their hands. So
sure.
yeah, they've
It's funny
nailed
how
it.
you're talking about, a concert and the guy wants to run around with like the can, right? I was at a concert Sunday and it was me and my buddies and my dad. And I'm like, I really want that drink. And it was like a really foo-foo girly drink in like a jar. And my buddy's like, you're not gonna do it. And one of my buddies like, if you buy it, I'll buy it. And I was like, oh, I guess we're buying these things that I think I was the only dude other than my buddy running around with this drink in a jar that was blue with fish in it. And I had never been so pumped in my life. I was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
yes. And then I'm like, I spent $30 on this. And I'm like, I'm gonna
Oh,
drink it, I'm gonna enjoy it. And now I have a little jar.
Little keepsake
Yeah.
afterwards.
that's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the same thing if like I live down the street from Disneyland and like, they sell so many like kitschy, drinks and things like that. People spend so much money on it, but it's because again, it's that culture that they've built, right?
Yeah.
They've built that culture where like that person has blue milk. How do I go get one of those? And they ask people,
I
hey,
need
where
to
did you
have
get that?
that.
And they go get it. So it's like pretty crazy how that mindset is like, I'm going to create something that you're going to want because you're going to see somebody else has it and you want to get it. It's that FOMO, the
Oh, it
fear of
just
missing
sounded
out.
like I read what was in it and it was hot. It was a hot day. And I was like, mm,
That's so fun.
I could get down with that. And then I got down with it. I'm like, do
Nice.
I go back and get another one? And I'm like, no, I don't need two jars. And I was like, it's also $30 a drink. And I was like, I am in. I only had
That's
one though.
awesome.
Is there anything that you might want to mention? We just do some rapid fire questions. I think some of them you've already kind of answered, but we'll kind of go through them again. But we have a few rapid fire questions for you, if you don't mind. Is there anything that you wanted to
Yeah.
ask before we hop into that at all? That maybe we didn't cover?
No, and the issue is as soon as I turn this off,
Yeah,
it's gonna come back to me.
well, we can just send you a message.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
For
so
sure.
first rapid fire question is, what's your favorite golf course that you've played?
Favorite golf course I played, probably the ranch here in Laguna Beach. It's kind of like in a canyon It's a 9-hole executive course. It's kind of like a lot of brands have shot photos there. In fact, I think I learned about it through Random Golf Club. Eric Andrews Lang played there, and I was like, oh, it's right down the street from me. So ended up
That's
going
really
there.
cool.
But yeah, that's you guys gotta go out there and check it out.
He signed
Absolutely.
our bag tags.
Yeah,
Nice,
we did the
Mad Scramble.
Mad Scramble here in Minnesota. That was really cool.
nice, very
What's your
cool.
favorite golf course?
I got a few. It's hard to like narrow it down, but
Shouldn't have asked.
yeah, that's a tough question. Actually, I do have a list of all like my top golf courses I
Oh,
played,
Jesus
but I would
Christ.
probably say TPC Twin Cities Blaine is one of my favorites. Private course that we got to play with 3M Media Day the last few years.
Nice.
So that's definitely up there. And then I would probably have to say Half Moon Bay. We went out and played Half Moon
Oh
Bay
yeah,
last year with
nice.
couple of guys for our shindig out in California last year. So Half Moon Bay was awesome. That was probably
Yeah,
my
I
two
think
favorite.
I think half of the course play is like who you're playing with. And I don't think I've had a bad round at the ranch. So every time I play there, it's like always good guys that are just, down to play golf and,
Mhm.
not make it the most annoying, frustrating golf, round that I've ever had.
Well, that's what it's about. It's about the company.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Oh, damn, you have like a
yeah,
list.
I got kind of a list of some. TPC Scottsdale Stadium course was kind of cool to play. And then I would say there's I don't say it was like my favorite course because I played like garbage, but in Michigan there's the Loop, which is really cool. And they have the red loop and the black loop. So basically they don't have tee
Nice.
boxes, they just put stakes in the ground and that's where they play it. And then the
Mm,
very next day they play it in reverse. So it's really wild.
wow.
It plays totally different, but it's they kind of emulate like a Scottish style of golf. There's some courses out there that kind of used to do that. So, but
That's
I
cool.
wouldn't say it was like the nicest course. I'd say it's kind of a cool setup, different,
Kind of neat.
unique.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what about you?
I love TPC Twin Cities, and I'm gonna keep saying that so they keep inviting us back because it is a blast to get to play a private course that you and I are not get to play otherwise.
Yeah.
Um, that being said, Half Moon Bay, I love the ocean course. I think a lot of that course's charm
Mm,
was, as Patrick said, it's with the people.
Yeah.
Getting to play
hmm
with Beard and Brendan and
People that you kind of just meet through social media, but are just like having a
yeah.
blast.
And then like I loved Troy Brown.
You do like that?
I
Yeah,
did,
Troy
yeah.
Brown's awesome.
Ralph and I shot the best, and I don't know how I shot the best. I feel like
Yeah.
it's bullshit. I probably cheated.
Well, the front nine was great for me, and then it just went downhill. But that's
Well,
golf in
well, my
general.
favorite course has to be the
I was
Wilderness at
gonna say,
Fortune
I
Bay.
was waiting for you to say the
I
Wilderness.
love it. It's right down the road from my cabin. It's a casino course. It is
It's really nice.
always one of like the top 5, top 10 public courses in Minnesota. And you could play at their twilight, and their twilight starts at like 2 or 3.
Wow.
So you can play it under $100 with a card for 18. With a course like that, it's almost unheard of.
That's crazy.
What
Yeah, I might
what's
be out there in
what's
Minnesota
up?
playing for there's a Hybrid Nation
Oh
golf
yeah,
tournament that I might be out there for. So I don't know
you'll have
where
to hit us up.
located.
I last year I think it was I just played Legends, which was where it was last year. I'm trying to think where it is this year.
Why didn't we get invited?
That's
They don't like us.
OMG Jeremy. And
I
he
don't.
just
Yeah.
followed me. He
That just because they
Just
follow you doesn't mean I know them.
no, but that was the one that we were trying to get to play in our event. They were trying to come out. They just couldn't. Yeah,
There's a lot of people that tried to come out, and then Microsoft decided to shit on everything.
yeah, that was kind of wild.
That's crazy.
Um, what is one piece of golf equipment you can't live without?
Um,
Like not obviously golf clubs and all that's a necessity, but like maybe something like that you wouldn't really think of, or
yeah. Um, I mean, obviously my camera is one, but that's not a piece of equipment.
I guess kind of could
Uh,
be. I mean, you use it for golf related things, but yeah,
it could be.
yeah.
I think I'd have to say, I mean, the rangefinder's kind of become synonymous with me. I haven't had one. I didn't grow up having one, and then the first one I got was a Precision Pro, so I love those. That'd probably be the thing that I would say.
I've never had a rangefinder until I got that care package. I was like, hell yeah. And
Nice.
yeah, so my first rangefinder is the Titan Elite, which is kind of wild to
Oh,
say.
sweet.
Yeah, that's a good question. So kind of dumb of me, but like I think my favorite thing, thinking about what I couldn't live without, I have like a little pouch I put all my teas in. I love that. If I had
Nice.
teas all over my bag like I used to, oh my God.
Yeah, I use the Power 8 Golf pouch for
Oh,
mine.
I have a random golf club one. It's like a velvet bag.
Yeah,
Nice.
golf tees, divot tools, whatever
Hmm.
else is
My divot tool
ball
I have
markers.
like a Kraken thing, like a
The
little
little pouch.
pouch. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say so that's a good point too with the so I used to have like or I still do should say I used to I have like the Bushnell watch but it's like an old one.
Yeah, yours looks ancient.
It is but like
I thought you had just an old ass because like I have one of the newer. I work like I
Oh
said,
wow.
running industry. I work with Garmin. I have the new Approach S70.
but most courses like that you play like don't have GPS in them so it's like using a rangefinder I mean it makes a huge difference especially if like you know
Yeah.
you're comfortable with your your distances with your iron wedges but um I'll let you ask the last two here if you want. However you want to ask those two.
Oh, interesting. You changed it up.
Yeah, switch
That's
it up
why
a
you're
little.
not allowed to type questions ever again. Um, so what golf shoes are you currently wearing, or like what's your favorite one?
Um, like I said, I think the Adidas Tour 360s, the newest ones are really nice, but I always go back to the 2022s. I got these I actually have them in my closet, an extra pair, but they were unreleased. They're like digital camo. I'll pull them out. Hold on a second.
Okay. It's like you can't talk about it and not share them. Oh, dang.
Yeah, so these are an extra pair, but like I said, my friend used to work at Adidas Golf, and when he left, he had a few just random pairs of shoes that he's like, dude, you want these? I was like, sure.
Those are
So I
sweet.
wear these all the time. Um, just because I think they're versatile. They're like white with like a little bit of gray, if you could tell.
Yep.
But the comfort on these with the boosts, oh, I love these. And the
My
new ones, the
Solomon
Tour
rep did
360s
that.
are
They're
so
like,
new ones are super comfortable too and stylish.
yeah, my Solomon rep did that. They're like, hey, we're getting fired. What do you want? I gave him a list. I was like, this. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, he was
Um,
literally cleaning out his closet or his garage, and he was like, "Do you want any of these?" I gave away like a bunch of them because I couldn't wear them, and they're not my size or style. But dude,
The issue is like everybody I know isn't my size. Right? Like you got smaller feet. Everybody I know has like either smaller feet than me or bigger feet than me. So I'm always kind of screwed.
what works for you? It's more shoes for you.
Well, I know, but like if you're like, hey, have these extra
Oh,
shoes,
yeah.
I can't wear them.
Mm.
No, your little ass feet.
Uh, what is your go-to coffee order? I know I kind of already asked this, but if you're going to like some bougie little coffee shop, what's your go-to?
Yeah, like I always get just a cappuccino.
Cappuccino.
I mean, affogato is like another like if they have that. A lot of people don't, but like if they have that, I'll definitely try that. Just
Is
ice
that
cream
the
and
one with
coffee,
olive oil?
espresso. No, it's just ice cream and espresso.
Yeah.
What's the one with olive oil?
Uh, Starbucks just ran one of those not too long ago. I tried it. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I did not like it.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
Okay,
It's
it's
a
pretty
newer
gross.
it's a newer
You
one and
don't
it's
have to
gross.
try it.
Yeah, I did not like it. I tried it with
It
sample
like
taste.
coated my mouth in like a weird way, and I was like, I don't like this.
That just doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound like why would
No,
you
but
do
then
that
like
to
my
yourself?
staff are like, Dom, it's really good. I'm like, I think you guys are broken. Like your taste buds suck.
Yeah.
And they don't
They're
listen
not
because they think I'm really dumb that I do this. They don't so yeah, they're dumb. They have really bad taste.
I will
Yeah.
agree that it's not good tasting at all.
But if I order a
So
cappuccino like at certain coffee shop, it has to be an 8 ounce cappuccino. Because if it's more than an 8 ounce cappuccino, it's a latte. And sometimes they have like the bowl for a latte or and I'm like, what is that? That's not a coffee. That's like milk with a little bit of espresso.
and that's basically yeah, because what cappuccino is basically
I'd
it's just
probably pick
Half and
espresso
half.
and milk, but it's just half and half. It's just like half and half.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely more of a latte guy. 8 ounce to 12 ounce is
Yeah. Mm.
usually my go-to. But
I just can't do all the milk.
yeah, that's the downside. Are you a big like Americano fan at all?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the other thing too, is like I learned in Australia, it's called long black. So it's a difference in the way they make it. It actually tastes much better because the Americano is like poured into water, and the long black is like the water is added to, or sorry, it's there. How would it be? So
'Cause-
instead of water and then pouring it in, you put the water on top of, yeah, that's what it is. So the
Okay,
way
so
it
the
mixes
espresso's
is a little bit
already in
better.
the espresso's already in the
Yeah,
cup, and then you pour the water
yeah,
in versus
exactly.
opposite on the Americano. Okay, gotcha.
And it's a little bit like that's the dumbed down version. There's like obviously you pull a different shot, it makes it a little bit better, more creamier. But
Sure.
yeah, when I learned that, I was like, this tastes different. It's like the same thing. Yeah, like no, it's not an Americano. This is a long black. But I learned what a short black was, which I thought was just a small cup of coffee. It's just an
What's that?
espresso.
It's just an espresso. Interesting.
I ordered it at a
Short black,
restaurant and
just
they gave me a
espresso.
little cup with espresso, and I was like, what is this? Oh, you wanted a long black? No, I wanted a small coffee. Yeah, that's long black.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I guess everywhere you go is obviously a little bit different, right?
Yeah. And then one of the Glory Jeans is like a main, like almost like a Starbucks, but like a main coffee chain out there. And if you order an iced coffee, they'll put ice cream in your coffee with ice, which is
Mm.
good, but it's not what I expected. So
Yeah,
when they
you're
handed it to me, I was like,
expecting iced coffee.
what is
just
that?
coffee. That's
Yeah.
interesting. That's in Australia?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an Australian thing.
I wonder, like, too, like with the affogato, or that, I mean, that's how you pronounce it. But I've
Avocado.
never personally, yeah, I've never personally tried it, but I've seen a lot of like the Instagram
So
reels like
good.
of them make, and it looks amazing.
It's good because it has that creamy texture and flavor, but it also, if you do like a vanilla bean or something like that, it has that vanilla flavor as well. So
I think
it's
that's what I
just
would
really creamy and delicious. That's why I like it.
sure.
I'll do afternoon avocados like all the time, just because it's delicious and it's
Yeah,
like a little snack.
it's more of a
Keep me
treat than
awake.
anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Go ahead, Don. You can ask this last one here if you
Yeah.
want.
So it's like the biggest tournament of your life. You're on hole one, and they're like, "Hey, what are you walking up to? What's your walk-up song?"
Walk up song. That's an interesting question. It's funny because like I'm not a big music guy anymore. I used to be really into music. I play and sing, play guitar and sing. Um, but right these days I don't really listen to the radio. So that's for me a tough question. But I could think of when I was like listening to music, what I would listen to. Probably be Back in Black with from the AC/DC.
Mm, classic.
Because I also wear a lot of black too, so obviously.
Yeah, I'm kind of I'm more of like a dark blue black shirt guy too. I used to wear more louder stuff. Now I'm kind of just I wear the
That's so boring.
yeah, I like the black tees. I mean, I like cool like I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I guess I used to be like pretty out there like with different polos and
Mm,
all that stuff, but now I prefer just kind of like your standard black shirt with a cool design on it or something. Kind of like what you
yeah,
have. I like that vibe much better.
I try
yeah.
not to, 'cause my hair sheds and you can see it
Oh,
on
with
the
the
shirt.
black, yeah.
Yeah, I know you guys have
Don't
got
get
that
me wrong,
issue.
like the two friends golf, I wear a lot of his polos that are kind of loud, but if like I'm going to a golf event, I'm either gonna wear um a black polo, black shorts, or
Mm,
but I will say I don't know if have you probably are familiar with have you worked with Pare Golf, Maddie with Pare Golf? Have you done any
I have
reviews?
not.
You would
I have
love
not. Yeah.
Maddie, and Maddie
Yeah.
would love you.
Yeah, Pare Golf
Where is
is
he?
Filipino. He's out of
Oh yeah.
New Jersey.
New Jersey, yeah, and I just bought his you might have seen it on Instagram, maybe not, but I got
Wow,
that.
that's so cocky.
Well, no, I'm just saying like I mean like you might have
Just
seen
kidding.
him on Instagram, like his polo. Now I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about him. But
Yeah.
like
No.
he did the like the
He-
throwback Tiger Woods mock neck where it's like the
Oh
pinkish
yeah.
white stripes.
That's
Um
cool. Yeah.
and I picked that up, and so I
Again,
like that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
before I was born.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
do. I like solid colors with like a pop of color. Like
mhm.
that's been my style recently. Is like I'll wear like bright red shoes with like all black or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Some little
and
flashy
yeah,
pop, but it's
it
subtle.
can't be like all like I see some guys wearing these like crazy polos and their shorts are crazy too, and then their shoes like, oh, it's just too much. You gotta
Well,
like
I
balance it out.
yeah. Well, then for me too, my era really was the Bricky Fowler, so I was very
Mm,
very loud for a while, and that's where I think like I
nice.
was rocking the orange and orange, and now it's like it looked like I was in prison or something, you know, wearing the all orange on me. We could pull it off. Yeah. But yeah, kind of going back to that's like now trying to transition into the more the solid colors or earth tone
Nice.
colors. But yeah, check him out, Manny with Party
Yeah.
Golf. He's got
Yeah,
some
I've
really
heard of
cool
it.
stuff.
I just haven't
I
done
wear
anything with them.
a lot of his hats.
It's just
Nice.
PARE. He has a little
Hmm.
fancy thing with Jig up top. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we end this podcast. We typically end every podcast question, end every podcast with a food related question is what I was trying to say. Excuse me.
Yeah, I know you cut your laptop.
Yeah, and
Cut
then
your
I
brain
shut
off.
my brain off too.
Yeah.
So if we were to come visit you, where would we go grab some food? It could be for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, however you want to do it. And what would we be getting?
I mean, I'm in California, so In-N-Out is like my go-to. Again, I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, so that it's become my staple. But I mean, there's so many good places around here. Like if I was just going fast and easy, it'd be that. Um, there's a couple of local shops here that I think that would be really awesome. There's a place, a breakfast brunch place that I like that I go there. It's simple too, but it's called the Rooster. That's probably one of those places.
Sure. Okay.
And some
And
coffee,
then
of course.
I was just say, what is there like a little uh coffee spot that you prefer to go to?
I mean, anywhere in Costa Mesa. I mean, there's coffee shop, any corner, just throw a brick and it's there. It's half of my friends own them.
That's
And they're
awesome.
just delicious.
Very cool. Well, man, it's been a pleasure to have you on. Hopefully, we
Yeah,
can have you on again down the road. Appreciate
for
what you're
sure.
doing. Keep up all the great work, and said thanks again for spending time with us tonight.
Awesome, man.
All right, take care.
Appreciate
Nice
you
to meet
guys.
you.
All
Yep,
right.
thank you.
See ya.
Thanks, man.
Oh, that's not the right button.
Yeah.
Oh, we're still
Where
on.
the hell? There it is.